Before we begin, in 2019, YouTube was caught data mining children under the age of 13, violating the Child's Online Privacy Protection Act, or COPPA. Since settling, YouTube has enacted new policies meant to dodge responsibility and scapegoat creators. This video is not made for kids. It is not targeted at kids. It is not advertising to kids. Parental discretion is advised. Hey guys, how's everyone doing? This is the Sentinel watching over Geekdom, and welcome back to Sentinel Reviews. It is Monday, the day after airing, which means Doctor Who time again. Today we will be looking at Series 12, Episode 8, The Haunting of Villa Diodati by... I just forgot her name. Maxine Alderton. As always, I will be discussing spoilers, so if you have not seen the episode, this is your only chance to abandon ship and come back when you have. And so right off the bat, everyone really likes this episode, and I'm going to start off by saying I don't like it as much as everyone else. Now, hold off. Hey, stop it. You put out that torch and you put that pitchfork away. Stop it. Let me explain. Now, because from what I've seen, everyone is giving this episode about a 9 out of 10. If I were to rate it, I would give it an 8 out of 10. See? I still really enjoy it, just not as much as everyone else. It's not because of my critiques or anything, it's just because on a personal level, I just didn't enjoy it. It was great, it was really great, but it was just... I wasn't as engaged. But again, like I said, compared to everyone else giving it a 9, I'm only 1 point down giving it an 8, so I did still really like it. Anyway, but as far as my rating, we're going to talk about that when we get to the end, so stay tuned. So, this episode sees the fam arrive in Geneva in 1816, was it? Yes. On the dark and stormy night that was supposed to inspire Frankenstein. You know, Mary Shelley, Percy Bysshe Shelley, Lord Byron, Mary's sister-in-law, and one Dr. Polidori were all stuck in this house in the dead of night while it was raining and storming violently, and they started telling ghost stories, and they kept one-upping each other, trying to make wagers on who could tell the best story, which would lead to Mary Shelley writing Frankenstein. And, you know, obviously, the doctor shows up, and things immediately are not right. As I mentioned, on this night, Mary's husband, Percy Shelley, was supposed to be there, and he's MIA. And right off the bat, this episode is really great. If you haven't seen my Dark Shadows review that I did for Valentine's Day, plug, I talked a little bit about my views on horror, and how I said horror works best, in my opinion, when it's atmospheric. And atmosphere is one thing this episode has in spades. Everything is just dripping with tension. And I keep using this phrase when I talk about horror and atmosphere, but there's no other way to say it. Unease just permeates the air as they try to figure out what happens. And there's all these things going on, like people will appear and then vanish. If I had to say one thing, I don't like that after the events of this episode were resolved, the maid and the child were still unexplained. But that's neither here nor there. But anyway, and all these things sort of happen, like someone will try to leave one room to go into another, only to go around in a circle and wind up back in the room they just left, with no explanation of how or what happened. And like I said, that's really great, and the tension keeps building up until the second half of the episode, which I'm gonna hold off on for just a moment. The performances are really good. Just blanked, excuse me. Lord Byron was actually really good. And I love the reference to Spyfall and Ada Lovelace because, for those of you who don't know, I may have mentioned it, Ada Lovelace was Lord Byron's daughter. And I sort of love the very rock star way the actor playing Byron played him, because that's essentially what Lord Byron was. He was that kind of rock star. He was that egocentric. Like, last night on Twitter, complimenting the portrayal of Lord Byron, a YouTuber I follow named Diamanda Hagen regaled a story of how a college he was attending said he wasn't allowed to take his dog. So in retaliation, Byron read through the rule book for his college, exploited a loophole, and brought a pet bear. Mary, I feel, was kind of the weaker one, and the other two characters, Dr. Polidori and I keep forgetting her name, but it's Mary's sister-in-law. It was like Miss Claremont or something. They were just there. They didn't have really anything to do. Dr. Polidori was good. In the sleepwalking scene, that was really well done. But yeah, aside from Byron and Mary, and again, I felt Mary was a little weaker, the other side characters are just kind of there. Although Fletcher, the valet, was fun. Speaking of, the humor in this episode is incorporated really well. Like, nothing feels out of place. The timing is well handled. And there is no third reason, so I don't know why I didn't end my list there. But yeah, the humor is handled well. The lighting is also really good. Like, it's dark, it's very moody, it helps set the scene, but it's not so dark that you can't see what's going on. Now that I said that, I can't think of an example to compare it against. Wow, this is going swell. But, anyway, so yeah, and the editing was also really well done. Like, there was, in the first half of the episode, there was a lot of jump cuts. Like, in one scene, Ryan, I think it was Ryan, I don't remember who it was, but like, it was either Ryan or Graham, was in a room, and then they left the room, and then there was this jump cut, a character appeared, and then lightning flashed, and they disappeared. The editing was good, the directing was good, the lighting was good. On the technical side of things, everything was great. Do I want to go into the second half of this episode, or do I want to do more on the performances? Okay, I'll do the performances first, and then I'll get to the second half, because that's obviously going to lead us into the end and into next week's episode. The performances from the leads were also really good. Like, thinking back on it, the companions didn't have much to do, but they were so much better integrated into the story than they were the last few episodes. Like, great, now I don't remember. It felt like they actually had a presence in this story. There we go. And, even, like I said, even though they didn't have much to do, it still felt like they were very heavily involved. Because that is kind of one of my critiques for Series 12. The companions have been getting sidelined a lot. And outside of a moment here or there, the episodes have mostly really been Doctor-centric. But, yeah, just like I said, it actually feels like the companions have a presence in this episode. And, although speaking of Doctor-centric, holy wow, Jodie Whittaker is just once again phenomenal. Like, I will concede that, again, even though I don't like this episode as much as everyone else, again, 8 out of 10 versus the general consensus being 9 out of 10, I do think this is one of her best performances. Like, and I will get to the spoilers now, when the Cyberman first shows up, she tells everyone to wait in the room they were in. And she says, I forget the exact wording, but she says something along the lines of, I'm not losing anyone else to that, because when you think of the trifecta of Doctor Who villains, the Daleks, the Cybermen, the Master, The Cybermen have been one of the most effective. I mean, the Daleks have been responsible for 1 companion death, Sarah Kingdom, and 0 regenerations. The Master has been responsible for no companion deaths and 1 regeneration, the 4th into the 5th Doctor. The Cybermen have been responsible for 3 companion deaths, Adric, Danny, yes he counts, and Bill. And keep in mind, the Doctor was unconscious when Bill left, so she has no idea what happened to Bill. Anyway, as I was saying, the Cybermen have been responsible for 3 companion deaths and 2 regenerations, the 1st into the 2nd Doctor and the 12th into the 13th Doctor. Really, when it comes to regenerations, the Cybermen are the 2nd leading cause of death in Doctors after radiation poisoning. Which, anyway, and Jodie's acting against the Cybermen is utterly fantastic. Like I said, once again, actually, that is one thing I will say. Compared to Moffat, Davies, I need to rewatch his stuff to be sure on, but compared to Moffat, certainly, Chibnall understands the classic villains. He understands what makes these villains so effective. And he understands how they work, which once again leads into my own opinion that, because the fans are complaining that the Jodie era doesn't feel like Doctor Who. Once again, I say, sure, it doesn't feel like the Revive series, but it feels like the classic series. And his depiction in Series 12 and Resolution of the trifecta, Dalek, Cyberman, Master, shows he really understands, really cements my opinion on that. But yeah, this isn't just any Cyberman, because the Cyberman is in this. Of course, it's Mary Shelley, Frankenstein. Of course, it's the Cyberman. And I'm not going to be discussing the Silver Turk. I had my rant about that. It's done. But I just lost my train of thought. Anyway, yeah, Mary Shelley, Frankenstein, of course it was going to be the Cybermen. But yeah, this is the lone Cyberman. And first of all, that's a great design. And I think part of what helps it is it's a one-off design. Like, we're not going to see more Cybermen like this. And that really helps it stand out. But also, part of its faceplate is missing. So you see who's underneath it. And bringing back that human factor really helps reestablish what made the Cybermen originally so horrific, because I'm very neutral on the new Who Cyberman design, and we'll get there, but I do agree that it is too robotic, because what makes the Cybermen so frightening is that they're not robots. They're humans who replaced their body with machine parts until everything that made them human is gone. And what the failing of the new Who Cyberman design is, they look like robots. I think when we talk about next week's episode, I'm going to talk more about my thoughts on the new Who Cybermen, so stick a pin in that. But seeing his face really brings back the lone Cyberman's face, that is, really brings back that human factor. And what also helps is that the voice isn't as robotic, Because, again, leading to the too robotic, it's one of the reasons the Troughton Cybermen are one of my least favorites. The voice is also too robotic. And what made the 10th Planet Cybermen so effective, again, on that front, is that it was a human voice. There was some editing done, but really very little. But it was a human voice that was speaking emotionlessly. It was speaking robotically. And that's also what put the 80s Cybermen over for me in terms of ranking. I just got a computer update. But, yes, and once again, bringing that back, it's so effective in, once again, reestablishing what the allegory, for lack of a better word, of the Cybermen. Where else do I want to go there? 'Cause What about my notes? Yeah, there's not really much I wanted to hit on there. Technically, on the technical aspects, The Haunting of Villa Diodati is really good. The performances are solid. The tension is great. And it leads up to the finale really well. Like, the storyline in this, like, you know, it's not just, oh, here's a thing. Oh, it's not, oh, this is a punch at the end that's just leading to the finale. The storyline that we're probably going to continue in the finale is integrated really well into this. Oh, shoot, that reminds me. There is one more thing I wanted to talk about, just really quick. So in Fugitive of the Jadoon, we saw Jack back, and he gave the companions a message for the Doctor. Beware the lone Cyberman, don't give him what he wants. And the Doctor, because of circumstances she couldn't control, because, you know, Percy Bysshe Shelley is a fixed point in time, and, you know, what happens to literature, you know, how important it is to the timeline, the web of time, etc., she gives the lone Cyberman what it wants. And everyone really lost their minds over this. Like, it was head-scratchingly baffling to watch. It's like, really? You didn't see this coming. This is Fiction 101. When someone says, don't do the thing, then accidentally or intentionally, the chances of the thing happening are now 100% gonna happen. Anyway, The Haunting of Villa Diodati is a great episode. Great tension, great editing, phenomenal performances, especially from Jodie Whittaker, and it is a promising start to the finale. And I'm not gonna actually rate it. Why? Because, despite what the advertisements have been saying, I feel like this is another case of Series 3 or Series 9. Despite what the advertisements and everyone is saying, I think we are actually looking at a 3-part finale. So, next week I will review Ascension of the Cybermen, and in 2 weeks, in my review of The Timeless Children, I will give my rating on this 3-parter as a whole. But those were just my thoughts. What were yours? Please start a conversation in the comments below. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share the video around, as it'll help my channel grow. In the description box below, you'll find the link to my Ko-fi, where you can help support the channel, and my Twitter, where you can follow me and get updates on the channel. This is the Sentinel, watching over Geekdom, and I'll see you guys next time.